When creating mini sites, what I do and what you may find useful and a good shortcut is to have ready-made templates where you just fill in the blanks. Like for example, I use this style of mini site quite often, which as you can see, just a white background, headline larger red text, black text for the main body of the page, and it's all in a, you can say it's all in a fairly wide column. There's some space on the left margin and the right margin, but it's all in a single column. And what I've done, which isn't part of the standard template, is also add an opt-in box. So you may find such a, and actually I should mention right at the bottom, the standard, copyright text and links to, well, support links and contact links. And you may find such a layout, well, it's easy to create and easy to create templates for, and you may find that works well for you in many instances. So if I go to Mozilla Composer here, we can create that now. So you start with a brand new blank document, and you can choose format, page colors and background. Okay, it says reader's default colors. I would click on use custom colors. Okay, normal text black, that's fine. Link text, that's blue, as you can see, that'd be fine. Active link text is dark blue. Actually, I think it's the exact same shade. That's fine. Visited link text, a purple color, and then the background. What I would do is leave those as they are, except the background. Just make sure that is. Let me do that again. If you click on that, make sure it's set to white, and the code for white is the hash symbol. I think that's also known as the pound symbol, and then 6 Fs, as you can see. Okay, and that should be it, so let's OK that. And what you can also do, format, page title and properties. I would leave, at this time I would leave author and description blank, but we can fill in a title. And to specify, if we go back to the browser here, the title is what appears here in the title bar of the web browser. That's useful, it's useful to have something there, and it can also be beneficial in the search engines, because often the search engines look at your title here to get some sort of context of the page. Now, just as an example here, you can see the title is How to Get the Viral PDF Generator Script for Free. So if someone was to go to Google and type in viral PDF generator, because that text is in the title, chances are they would be brought to this page. Okay, so back to Composer. So title. Well, we're not sure what this page is about, so let's just put a dummy title. Let's say direct response page title for template. Let's say title holder for template. Okay, that. Alright, so that's done. And if you're interested, and I would actually advise you to get familiar with HTML code as you go, because it will help you understanding greatly of what's happening, and it will also give you the knowledge to make your pages look better, and can even help you create pages quicker once you become very familiar with it. So if we just go to HTML source here, you can see the code that's been created so far. Okay, let's go back to normal view. And actually I often mention these sites. Let me go back to the browser quickly. I often mention these sites as very good references and tutorial resources, because there's many HTML web page creation tutorials online, but I find these are very good and very straightforward. One is htmldog.com. This website, I think, is about 300 pages in total, and I feel the quality is good enough. It deserves to be, the quality is as good as a book you would buy in the bookshop. So I would recommend this site. And also htmlref.com. This is actually more of a reference, really, which you may find useful. They include a few chapters here of the book, but actually in a way it's a teaser to get you to buy the whole book itself. The book is the complete reference, HTML and XHTML, and you can get it from Amazon or whatever you choose. But even with all the free content they have, it's a great resource. Okay, so back to Composer. Right, so we've set up our basic page settings. Now what we want to do is add a table. And a table is like, in a way, it's a holder for content. Let me demonstrate what I mean. So you can add a table either going Insert Table, or you can go to the Table menu and choose Insert Table. They're both exactly the same. So by doing that, you get the Insert Table box. So let's start with 2 rows, 1 column, and you can choose the width of the table either as a percentage of the window. And actually I can give you an example of this. If I go back to the browser, let me change, by clicking here I change the size of the web browser window. Okay, I can click, hold and drag. And as you can see, the content of the page does not resize as I make it smaller, which means I have to scroll like this. Some pages, when you resize them, the content of the page also changes to fit into the browser. So that's when they've got a table which resizes, whose size is set with a percentage. Actually, let me give you an example of this. So this is using a table which is set not as a percentage. And you can double check this by going View, Source, and if we look at their code, and looking at people's code is always interesting. Well, interesting if you want to learn more HTML. If we scroll down, there we go. The table tag, they're creating a table, width equals 760, so that's pixels, 760 pixels wide. Whereas a site which I believe, going from memory, uses percentage to create the width. Associateprograms.com. Let's find a good page. Let's try Newsletter Archives. Okay, if we scroll down a bit, actually let me find a better example. Okay, I've gone to the sitemap page, and this gives you some sort of idea of how a page reacts when you set up a table as a percentage of the window width. So if I change the width, you can see this content here is changing as I make the page wider, as I make the web browser wider and narrower. So obviously if someone has their browser set to a very narrow setting, it can make the page a bit unreadable. But you know, it's up to them to decide how they want to have their browser. And you know, you may wish to make that decision. So it's something for you to bear in mind. So anyway, back to Composer. So generally I have the setting of 2 rows, 1 column, width 600. I generally have it 600 pixels. Border, no, so put 0 for border, and let's OK that. And there's our table outline. If we go to preview, we'll see a blank page because it's just an outline. It doesn't actually appear when the page is viewed through a browser. It's just an outline to help us work with a table, as you can see. And then we can click anywhere in the table here, and you can select areas of the table like that. But what you may find particularly useful, if you just double click on the edge of the table, you can apply advanced settings, and some of these can be very useful. For example, table properties. You see that brings up the table properties box. And an alternative way to bring up this box, if you just click anywhere within the table, like this, and then choose table, the table menu and table properties. There we go. So there's 2 tabs here, the table tab and the cells tab. We want the table tab at this time, and you can see our settings: 2 rows, 1 column, height, we can ignore that, width 600 pixels, border 0, and actually what I would advise is I would put spacing as 0, and padding I often put around 10. So what the padding does is put here 10 pixels between each cell, so that helps to pad out the table and makes it easier to read. And I generally have my tables in the center of the page, so center. And you can choose a background color, but as our page is white, and you know, as our page background is white, and I also want the table background to be white, that's fine. However, just for your own reference, if you had, for example, a blue page background and you wanted the table to have a white background, which is obviously advisable, because anything except a white background makes text difficult to read. You just click here and then you can choose your color. Very straightforward. And actually, just for the sake of completeness, let's choose white again. And you can see the code is the hash symbol and then 6 Fs. So let's OK that, and OK that. So there we go. So we've applied most of the settings we need at this time to our table. So now we can start adding some content, some actual text. Okay, what I'm going to do first of all is add the smallest section, which is the bottom section, which is for content which needs to be included on most pages. For example, actually if we go back to the browser, for example on this site which we're on right now, there's a copyright and a small piece of text, remember the name. On my site I simply have, if we scroll down to the bottom, I have the copyright, standard copyright text, and a link to the support area. So let's do that now. So add copyright text, copyright, and then the copyright symbol. You can either do opening bracket, small c, closing bracket, and actually that would do in the first instance. And actually, for the sake of completeness, if you would like to add the actual copyright symbol, you can go Insert, Characters and Symbols, and here click on the character list, and let's choose that, insert, and then close. And there we go. So you can choose which format you want, the proper copyright symbol or the version made up of brackets. So let's delete that. Let's have the proper symbol. Okay. So after the copyright symbol, space, and let's say copyright mydomain.com, all rights reserved. Okay, very straightforward. And what I'm going to do with this text is center it, so I'm going to click, hold and drag to select it. Alternatively, I can just click at the end, click here at the end of the line so the cursor's here, flashing. And if I click here, it will center the text, or it should do. There we go. And an alternative way to center the text rather than clicking this is format, a line, and then choose where you want your text to go. So that's our copyright text. And actually I'm going to add a line above this. So what I've done there, I've just placed the cursor at the start of the line and pressed enter. Like that. You know, the enter or the return key. And let's click here to place the cursor here. And let's add some more text. Contact/support. You can either have a link or support at mydomain.com. You know, however you offer support to your visitors. Right, so when you've added your support and your copyright text, or whatever other text you want at the bottom of your Minisite template, you can choose which font you want for it, which font you want to use, which typeface you want to use, and what size you want the text. So click, hold and drag to select, then format, font. Okay, let's try that again. It lists a lot of fonts here, as you can see, but the three main fonts you generally want to deal with if you're creating web pages is Helvetica, also known as Arial, Times, also known as Times New Roman, or Courier. Those three fonts should be supported with on most people's web browsers. If you start getting quite adventurous with other fonts, it may not look the page may not end up looking as you want it to look on the person's browser. So these are the safest fonts, and I generally go for Helvetica, also known as Arial. Okay, and then let's go back. Format, size. It's set to medium. You can choose. If we choose large, I think that's a little too large. Let's try again. Let's see what small looks like. I think that's pretty good. But you know, use whichever one works best for you. And what we can do actually is select that. And we can bold it if we like. Or let's see. Format, text style, bold. So those are some options. Okay, so let's say that's the bottom half of the template done. Now if we click here to put the cursor in the top row of the table, and you can see how the table works as a container for text. It helps format the page and it helps format the text and keep it aligned. Right, so first of all, well basically there's two sections here. Or you could say there's three sections. There's the headline. There's I'm pressing the enter key, or also known as the return key, to add extra lines. There's also the main text and subheadings. More text. So first of all, the headline. Headline text goes here. This is the style that usually works for me. This is the style that I usually use, and you may find it works for you. And this is initially just for demonstration purposes. And of course you can vary it however you wish. But I found this works well. So okay, we've got our headline there. Let's put our cursor at the end of the line. Click there. Format, align center. Let's select the text, click, hold and drag. Format, font, Arial. Helvetica, also known as Arial. Let's choose the size. Let's try extra large. Okay, let's make it bold. Format, text style, bold. And I generally make it red. So format menu, text color. And you can just click here. I think that should work well. That shade of red, which is, as you can see, the code for that is the hash symbol, 2 Fs and 4 zeros. So let's OK that. And click here, so it becomes unhighlighted. Click. Okay, that's how it looks. So main text goes here. And what I'm going to do, it's not particularly important, I'm just going to I'm going to select, edit, copy, place the cursor there, edit, paste, and the shortcut for paste is Control and V. So I'm going to paste a few more times. There we go, there's our first paragraph of text. So I'm going to select that, format, font, Arial, format, size, let's try small, yep, that's okay, format, text color, should be black by default, and yeah, you can see it's black by default, so that's okay, we can cancel that, and that's pretty much it. And then we would of course apply the same settings here. So let's select this, edit, copy, select this, edit, paste, and actually just a quick extra tip, I would add, by pressing the enter key, add some space between the bottom text and your page footer, so there's a bit of space there. Okay, subheadings, okay, let me try again, select that, put it in the center of the page, align center, format, font, Arial. I would generally advise having the same font throughout the page. I find it works well. You know, you can try different fonts throughout the page, but in a lot of instances, for example, just having Arial throughout the page, but just in different sizes and even in different colors does work well, I find. Okay, so there's our subheading in Arial. Let me just confirm here. Arial. Size, let's try large. Yep, I think that's a good size. Text color. Actually, just before we do color, let's make it bold. And text color. Let's see. I found often I'm not sure which one it is going from memory, but a shade of brown can work quite well, or dark red. Let's try this one. I think that might be okay, but you can see which colours you prefer. So that very quickly is a template for a Minisite. You know, obviously that's just one page, but then you would store this on your computer, which we'll do now. All you have to do for that is File, Save, okay, and the Save Page As box appears, and by default it's gone to the desktop, which is as good a place as any to save in the first instance, and you can call your file whatever you want. We can for example just call it, let's shorten that to, let's just call it Minisite template 1. Save as HTML, yes. And that's done. So that's our first template done. So whenever you want to then create a page that looks like this, and if you go back to the browser, well, ignoring the opt-in box at the bottom, which looks like this, you're pretty much set up. You just need to, go to Composer, select your text, and then type what you want. So for example, this is my new headline. But of course, make sure when you change your template, you don't just do File, Save, because you'll overwrite your template. Make sure you instead do File, Save As, and give it a different name. So let's say Working Document, or whatever you want. So it's as simple as that. And of course, if you want to add more text and more subheadings, you can just, for example, select that, edit copy rather, place the cursor here, edit, paste, and the document grows. And then you just select and then overwrite it with the text you want. So now you see, now we've given it a different name, we can just do File, Save. That's fine. So if I minimize Composer, and let me close the browser for a second. There's, here on the desktop, is our working document. Let me double click in there so it opens up in the browser, and you can see how it looks. It will look very similar to how it looked just now in Composer, because the whole point of Composer is it's a visual page editor, so what you see is almost literally what you get. But you definitely want to check in a browser as well, and I recommend checking in Mozilla Firefox and also in Internet Explorer just to make sure it looks fine in both of the main browsers. And you can see that's how it looks. So it really is as simple as that, to create a Minisite template where you can just fill in the blanks to create your own Minisite pages quickly and easily whenever you want.